the social media presence that we have, I talked about the pros, but there's also cons, right? Because it's also like giving an opportunity for propaganda to kind of like hit right dead in center. Because I was talking with a lot of different friends recently, right? And each one of my friends are getting a different type of algorithm, different type of content that they see in front of their phone, right? I'm not going to take names because I don't want to put them on blast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode. So, I know I dropped a video about Ruben Amorim earlier. And kind of like my rant. So, it sounds since I've got that out of my system, I kind of wanted to like talk about like what's you know what I'm planning to do for this year and so on and so forth. So, obviously, I want to talk about things that are going currently in the world and also in social media. So apparently, we talked about we had a podcast recently where we on Monday, which the episode will be dropping this coming Sunday, right? So stay tuned for that. Because I actually was able to bring in a guest in that podcast. He's from Venezuela, right? His family came from Venezuela because of what was happening there under Maduro, and the conditions of how Venezuela was really, really bad. So we kind of dwell into that, and also I give kind of like my opinions about like what I really feel what the impact's going to be overall in the long run. Um, for Venezuela and also for the world, based on the decision that we have made as a country. And yeah, definitely go check out that podcast. I think it's really fun. We do go back and forth a little bit um, just because I know understand that the guest is thinking from a more of a Venezuelan only standpoint, but he's also very very open minded to understand like where I'm coming from, right, from an international basis, and yeah, it's great. I think it's a fun conversation we had. It was very educational. I also learned a lot of things from my guests because that's something that I like to do. I like to be open minded. Like I've told you guys, I would like to be very, very. I want to listen. I want to listen to all different perspectives before I make a decision. I'm not like a horse that has like this, and all I see is in my way. I think one of the things I really want to talk about is having conversations like that in a podcast with different like ideologies or different personalities or different way of thinking allows me to better understand the people that are coming onto the podcast, so that way I can also understand where they're coming from. So it's better and easier for me to find a middle ground, right? But obviously also challenge them based off of their thoughts, or like maybe things that they might be wrong, or maybe things that I might be wrong with. They can factually tell me or give me a different perspective from what they're going through. I mean, it's very easy for me to just come up with my own opinion sitting over here, but if I have an opportunity to talk to someone who is of a different thought process, or someone who's not from here, or let's say from Venezuela, in that case, I would be able to learn more from that person, right? And the podcast has been going great. Once again, I want to say thank you for everybody that's kind of followed the News Nonsense More podcast, Team NNM going strong. We're really building, we're really connecting, we're giving a community a platform for them to kind of come and talk and share their ideas and share what they're doing, and also principles and ideologies and all the nonprofits and businesses around our area. That is something that we have kind of grown into. Now over here, I definitely want to talk about what I'm thinking. Me, who I am, more of on a personal level. And as you can see, I kind of making it. I got this little like light over here. Gonna add more stuff. I did get like a Ronaldo Messi poster, which I'm going to put back over here. And eventually, as this kind of like turns into something, you could probably see the progress as we kind of grow together, right? So ultimately, a couple of other things I also want to talk about, which is kind of crazy, is Dylan Page is actually leaving TikTok, and that's a guy who used to like give nitbits worth of news that you would happen, and he would constantly post on it. And he's leaving TikTok because apparently there's so much like community guidelines in that video. Apparently, he's not being monetized. He's kind of in a way shadow banned. Um, they tried to ban him as well. It was kind of crazy, like what's happening with him, and it makes me wonder, like, is are people going to be able to tell the news or any type of information out there? Like, are these companies really, really controlling what kind of narrative or what kind of like content and media you like to see there? I think there needs to be a lot of transparency, and a lot of these big companies don't really have transparencies, right? And that is one of the major topics that I want to talk about today. You know, and this is from both sides. I mean, I don't want anybody from the right or left or center being not being able to upload their videos or being able to engage with people out there. And I feel like these tactics, instead of just banning someone or just not letting them earn any money or demotivating them to even upload content on their platform, seems kind of like crazy. And I love YouTube for that, because YouTube is kind of there, but you can always share it in multiple different platforms. But again, if that platform itself is trying to kind of control the narrative, because they're getting paid by other bigger companies, hey, listen, don't do this, don't show that, put this kind of content aside, I think it's very detrimental, because we'll only see one type of narrative. I think kind of growing up, with a legacy media, with CNN or MSNBC or even like Fox News, it was very a typical like kind of like news. That's the only thing we knew. And with social media coming, it's giving an outlet for a lot of like positivity. People are being able to express their opinions, being able to fact check people in real time, being able to upload it, being able to talk about multiple different issues that's happening, right? And I feel like that is something that social media has, allowed a lot of the public and people to do so. And not only like that, but like to be able to create different media companies, different jobs for a lot of people. So I would really hope like the social media companies understands that they're nothing without the people, and the people stop, if they start feeling like they're being censored, it might be, it might like kind of blow back in their face, in a way, right? But ultimately, what I want to talk about today is the the social media presence that we have. I talked about the pros, but there's also cons, right? Because it's also like giving an opportunity for propaganda to kind of like hit right dead in center. Because I was talking with a lot of different friends recently, right? And each one of my friends are getting a different type of algorithm, different type of content that they see in front of their phone, right? I'm not going to take names because I don't want to put them on blast. But one of the biggest things that I'm seeing is like these kind of contents that goes out there, tries to push an agenda against a certain like religion or certain type of like people, and that's the only content that they get, right? And then when you fall down that rabbit hole or that echo chamber, you are pretty much only going to be consuming that kind of like content, and that can really mess up with your mind, right? I always suggest people, like, one of the things I do is when I go on my reels or my phone or TikTok, I reset what I want to see. I'm usually always watching like sports, comedy material, and also informative material like news or what's happening, pop culture references, or even the news. Because we don't have time nowadays to sit there and watch TV. I don't even have like a TV like network. I have a lot of these apps that I get to watch, like Disney Plus, Hulu, just when I want to watch a show. My number one is Crunchyroll. So if anybody is an anime geek out there, recommend some anime. I'm sad that My Hero Academia finished. Really sad that Attack on Titan ended. So yeah, if you have any like references or animes that you'd like me to try out, definitely let me know. I would love to give it a watch. But what I'm trying to say is that algorithm or that content that we're consuming can really, really be detrimental to how we interact with each other in society. What I'm trying to say is, if I have friends that are only consuming groyper material, they're going to start acting like groypers. If I have friends that are only, consuming anti-Islam like content, that's all they'll do is talk about how much they hate Islam. If I talk about people that are watching Hindu or anti Indian type of content, that's the only thing they know, and that's the only thing they talk about, right? It is creating more division between a lot of different like people and communities, that it eventually will just be so separated with each other and will be isolated, right? The world in an age where the financial structure of the world has become globalized, I don't understand how that's a positive thing. You know what I mean? And me personally, I'm not religious at all. You could say I'm agnostic. I don't think I'm atheist. I'm agnostic. I do believe in the culture. I love the culture aspect. I'm from Nepal, so I love the cultural aspect of it. Like when we celebrate Diwali, Dasai, Tihar, and all that stuff. Those are like the fun things, and I don't really know much of them. And if you ask me to go and say certain prayers, I will not know what to do. Like, trust me, that's the type of person I am. I'm not religious because of the fact that I feel like a lot of people kind of weaponize that, and I see that happening a lot. For the first time in my life, I was talking to someone. I was seeing this content online. When I was growing up, I always knew like the African American community. This is an example. Like they've gone through so much discrimination that regardless of what type of like religion they were from, if they could be Catholic, they could be Christians, they could be Muslims, they could be like I don't know, even Hindu. I've seen some, right? One of the things that always brought them together was their community and how much like discrimination they faced. So that always brought them together. On TikTok, for the first time in my life, I saw a content where there's this group of African American gentlemen. They were they had the Quran on the floor, and they were holding the Bible, and they were saying how much the Bible is better than the Quran, and they were putting it on the floor, and to some people it could be very disrespectful, right? And this other African American person came up, a younger person, and he was asking, you are disrespecting my religion. Why are you doing that, bro?" And they nearly got into altercation. They got into argument, right? And for the first time in my life, I saw two African American people arguing with each other over religion. And it's been weaponized so much to the point where, like, now you have fractions even in between these communities, right? And who does that help? And this whole idea of like you're part of the party system. Like if I'm a Republican, that's it. Whatever Republicans do, I'm always right. Whatever Democrats do, I'm always right. Whatever blue mandate that they have, that's all I'm going to follow because I'm Democrat and I don't really want to agree with anything else. That doesn't even make sense. Like people have lost the ability to think that you could be progressive in certain aspects of, let's say, you could be progressive in a financial aspect. You could be progressive in a social issue aspect, or in a social safety net aspect, right? You could be progressive when it comes to like taxes, but you could also be conservative when it comes to immigration. Like for me, for example, right? I'm very progressive when it comes to social safety nets, making sure there is a livable wage, there is healthcare for all, there is an opportunity for anybody to get education, right? Like all the other like democratic socialist countries, like Scandinavian countries, Australia, New Zealand. I mean, if you Google it, they're the happiest countries in the world. Not because their population is small; it's just that the middle class are just a lot happier because they have a lot of access to services. Even in Canada or even Europe, they have like healthcare. The NHS in the UK. If you go to the UK and you ask them how much like insulin pen costs, and you tell them it's like $250 in the US, they'll get shocked because it's only like I don't know, like 10-20 pounds over there. So those are the type of things that's why they're happier than they are over here. Yeah, the quality of our healthcare might be better here because we've invested a lot of it, but it's hell expensive. Like I remember reading an article or um, you know, looking at some people saying that they had cancer and they had to spend so much of their money, right, to get treated so they could live, but they ended up being bankrupt. They lost their jobs. They had no way of paying it back, right? If you look at the student loan debt, like that's something that you can't even like claim bankruptcy on, right? And they spend lots of money trying to get an education, hoping to get a job, and now they have to pay it back. While in other countries, you're paying taxes into it. Everybody's kind of like helping each other out. That type of community is non-existent in nowadays, and they're trying systematically, I feel like, to break that down. Now, again, going back to the whole thing, like from an immigration standpoint, I'm very conservative. I'm very conservative to a point where like people need to be vetted when they come into this country, right? I will probably align with a lot of like conservatives, or not like with MAGA, not like crazy like them, but with a lot of conservatives based off of like, hey, listen, they need to come in. There needs to be a better process. They need to have a pathway to their permanent residency, right? And then to their citizenship, right? Because it's not fair for people who came in before them and did everything the right way, because you have to balance that out, right? And also, like for me, for example, one of the things that kind of got hate on, I was on this TikTok live one day and I had mentioned that, hey, listen, I am not like there's these things called diversity visas where you can apply for, you can get your green card, you can come in. And I know in Nepal, it's all about like you need to have like a high school diploma. That's all you needed in order to get your DV or the diversity visa or green card, right? You could get into that. And you would have these consultancies there that would just like fill out application for each and everybody, people who couldn't even speak the language, right? And they were making a killing. Like they were charging, I don't know, 500 rupees to 1,000 rupees, which is like $5, $10. Let's just put it that way, just to make math easy. And every one of them would pay to see every year to see if they could get their diversity visa, and then make money on top of that by getting people to um, sponsor them to come over here, right? And that's very unfair because I feel like the diversity visa was to bring the best and brightest minds. So when I said that, no, I think you at least need to have a bachelor's degree or at least a master's degree in order for you to come here. Like you need to be educated so that way you could kind of come into this service-based industry, which is the U.S., and then be able to provide that sort of, um, value, right, to economic structure. That's great. And if the U.S. really wanted like workers, right, create a separate like working visa where they had to pay, like what I was saying was they had to pay X amount of taxes, right? They would pay taxes every year. They would get it 5 years or maybe 2 years, 3 years, have to renew it every 2 years or renew it every 5 years until they hit that threshold of taxes that they've paid, right? So, for example, just to give it better clarity, what I wanted to say or what I hinted was, if let's say someone gets a working visa from a different country, they come here, they cannot change it to anything else. You are in that visa until unless you marry someone. That's the only other way, right? You could change it, but you could already change it. Then you have a threshold. Like your primary focus is to come here and work any type of jobs, low paying jobs, whatever it is. You need a janitor, you need like someone to work in fast food, whatever it is. Like businesses that don't have that access to workers, because obviously workers in the United States of America are getting higher and higher. Like for example, fast food workers, right? You could bring them in, you could make them work in those areas and pay taxes into the system. So they're not going to benefit from the taxes, the federal tax that they're paying or the state income tax that they're paying. That would fund the state and the government itself, and then be able to then give them an opportunity to get their permanent residency. Let's say, for example, if someone comes in the 5 years that he's been here, he needs to hit like, I don't know, he's paid taxes up to 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. I don't know. Let's pick a number here, right? Let's pick 200,000. So let's say if he's hit that $200,000 mark of paying taxes and he's doing everything legitimately, because once you are filing taxes and doing everything legitimately, you are basically getting all those taxes. You are paying into the country that you want to be a permanent resident for, and then you could file for your permanent residency at that point in time once you've hit that threshold. That system, that idea that I put forth, really would have a very good system in place because you're not letting people work on the books or off the books, right? Even students that would come over here, give them an opportunity to work as well. International students, obviously vet them. You cannot work more than 40 hours, but make it in such a way that if they work, they pay their taxes, right? And when they pay their taxes, it goes towards that number that you need to hit. And I feel like diversity visas usually, it should be prioritized like the H-1B. Like a lot of the people within the United States, like students who come in and spend thousands of dollars, like $20,000, $50,000, $60,000 for their education in the United States, should be the first ones who could enter the DV lottery system and see if they could get it first, right? Because they're going to school, they're paying, and this is after they've gotten their bachelor's. So every person, every international student who's graduating their bachelor's, who have a job because they get their like OPTs and stuff, after graduating, they get an opportunity to file in for the diversity visa, and it's only like 3,000-4,000 people a year. Give them an opportunity, just like H-1B. Make that the tier one. Whoever gets it, right? They have a job. You follow the same rules and regulations of H-1B, and then the next step is if they don't, all the students who don't get the diversity visas, they can apply for H-1B. And then anybody who wants to come from abroad, put them in a separate pool, right? So that was kind of my thing. And I remember like this older gentleman went at me. He like snapped at me saying, "Oh, I'm not educated, but I came here and I worked my ass off. I put my kids to school and all so and so." And great for him. I mean, I'm not saying go retroactively, go back and change everything, but I'm saying going forward, that's something that can happen. Again, this is me being a progressive. I identify as being progressive. I am a huge supporter of Zoran Mamdani, Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Their idea of having a social safety net is amazing, because that's what we need to do as a society. We need to like have each other's backs, right? And that's not possible if we are not going to help each other out, because the way I see it after the 2008 financial crisis, there's only like socialism or democratic socialism for companies and the rich, but not so more for the middle class or the lower class. We shouldn't have people in food stamps and SNAP programs if we are not being able to provide opportunities for those classes of people, right? Like FDR did, because after the Great Depression, he's like, "Yo, guys, I was reading an article. He basically went to the top 1% at that time and said, like, listen, if you guys don't get something back, there will be a revolution." And it was very interesting to me that, he had the ability to say that to a lot of the one percenters at that time, and they agreed with him. And that's why he got elected as many times, because he also ran on democratic socialist values, right? Social Security, Medicare, those are the things that were implemented. And those are the things that really resonated with a lot of people back in the day, right? But yeah, I mean, like I said, like I feel like the algorithm that we all consume is very, very one-sided. Like there's no middle ground anymore. And that's something that came up in my mind. I just want to talk about it because I've been having discussions with some friends who have a particular mindset. I'm not saying that they're wrong or they're right. I mean, they're free to think and do whatever they want to do. They're not bad people, but it's just that they're fed that type of content. And I just wanted to make this video out saying that you can be conservative in certain like issues, but also progressive in other issues, and you can come together and vote for policy. I think policy is the most important thing, because I feel like even if you're MAGA, you're conservative, you're centrist, you're a liberal, or you're a progressive, I think the most important thing is everybody wants to own a house. They want to make sure everything's affordable. They want to make sure they have a livable wage. Everybody has a job. Everybody has a good paying job. Everybody is healthy. They have access to healthcare, and they have access to education, so that way they can send their kids off to school without having to worry about how they will pay for their kids' tuition or their college fees and so on and so forth. It will eliminate a lot of debt too. The money is there. It's just being stockpiled in one particular area. So, and they will do whatever it takes to make sure that's the status quo remains the same, right? And it's unfortunate, but I'm hoping maybe like this thought process or whatever I'm saying, an example I gave with the immigration stuff can showcase how like vastly like how I am when it comes to different issues. We can talk issue per issue, but this whole like my team, your team, I'm red, you're blue, I'm a Democrat, you're a Republican or a progressive, it doesn't work anymore. It's dividing us to a point where like there's even more division within the Republican Party as much as there is within the Democratic Party, right? If you go back and look at the 2020 Democratic primaries, it was clear to show how much division there is too. I mean, I could call the Democratic Party Republican light at this point in time, because they ultimately do the same thing, but they just try to sound nice about it. You know what I mean? And again, everybody has a right to, live freely, choose whatever religion they want freely, without imposing their lifestyle or anything else or their belief system on other people. Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to eat tacos one day, don't eat tacos. If you want to go eat Indian, you can. I mean, look at our country. Our country has so many type of foods. Pizza, we have sushi, we have tacos, we have, Thai food, we have Nepali food, we have Indian food. I mean, we all enjoy it, but everybody doesn't have to eat it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That was just in my mind today, and I really wanted to kind of expose that train of thought that it's okay as a progressive to say that I'm very conservative when it comes to immigration, but it's also okay for someone who is very conservative in immigration to also come out and say like I do agree with these financial policies. And I think that's what Bernie Sanders wants all Americans to kind of want to do, right? But yeah, no place for corporates, by the way. I mean, like that's just crazy at that point in time. But yeah, I hope this message reaches out to people, and I hope it resonates. If you have any thoughts, Comment down below. Let me know what else like I should be talking about. It's sad to see Dylan Page kind of leave TikTok. I used to watch his content all the time. Hopefully, it doesn't happen to a lot of other people. So yeah, that's the thing I followed up today. And remember, guys, make sure to hit that subscribe button, that notification bell, because it really helps with the algorithm, helps push more content like this out there, helps me kind of like it motivates me to do better and put out more content. And like I said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel and talk to Sean. And don't forget to watch that a new podcast episode this coming Sunday on the NNM channel, the News Nonsense More channel. Thank you very much. Peace out.